Well, on that question, it's been on the front of people's minds over the last week, especially with the escalation towards war that Obama is now engaged in. The warning that you issued 3 weeks ago during the course of the convention of the National Caucus of State Legislators in Atlanta, Georgia, where another kind of war was in full swing, a war of the JPMorgan and Wall Street banking representatives against the American people. And this war was over the issue of Glass-Steagall. This is now continuing. We have reports that there are JPMorgan representatives walking the hallways of the Sacramento State House in the California State Legislature with $6,000 suits on and Rolex watches, trying to intimidate California legislators to back off from their resolution for Glass-Steagall, and we can be sure that that's happening elsewhere as well. However, the warning that you issued at that time during the course of the events in Atlanta was that the level of hysteria that these Wall Street bankers are exhibiting in response to this Glass-Steagall fight shows you that they understand that their system is finished, that there's nothing there to defend. But they know that the only recourse is to declare war against the American people and to crush the American people by denying them the right to restore Glass-Steagall. And at that time you said, because this system is in such a state of systemic collapse, as evidenced by this hysteria that we saw coming out of Wall Street, we could see on the very near horizon the danger of the outbreak of global war. And now that forecast is on people's minds, and maybe you could comment on that.
We have to just simply push Glass-Steagall through immediately. That's what we have to do. And because every other combination of actions will not work. That is, will not work the way we want it. Yes, we have to have a Glass-Steagall installed. We have to get these guys out. Now, what we have to do is also tell some facts, because the public is not really aware of all of the relevant facts. Wall Street and what it represents is already hopelessly bankrupt. Remember, this, what they've done is they are not debts which are marked as debts and then sit there until somebody comes up and reclaims them. What they're doing is they're just recycling more and more of this hyperinflationary accumulation of documents and never accounting for a resolution of the indebtedness. So they just keep passing these things among each other with an increased price tag as they go along. All right, now that's what you've got to stop. And you've got to bankrupt these people. And they should be bankrupted because what they've done is a theft. They're claiming that they have property, titled property, in the form of all these recycled worthless debts. Well, we don't have. Our position must be these debts are not honest debts. They're a swindle that was pulled under certain kinds of conditions. They used Glass-Steagall repeal in order to do this. But their assets are not real. They are not honest assets. They're not honest debts. They're just gambling money. It's like the board game of gambling. Boardwalk. This is Boardwalk. A game. A mere game. It has no merits, no logic whatsoever, no honest logic at all. Get rid of it. Now, because what do they intend to do with these debts that they have? Their debts. Their gambling debts. What are they going to do? Well, not too far from now, if things go on the way they're going, you're going to reach a point where Wall Street repudiates its debts because they can't carry it. So the intention is that all these Wall Street characters out there who are thinking that this is their money, that their game, they're kidding themselves, because 90% of the people who think they own Wall Street are going to find themselves out on the street if they can make it that far. So that all these guys who are backed up by on this part are doing, that's their intention. They intend to cancel their debts to everyone. Simply say, we got to clean the thing up. We've got to make a general reform. We're going to cancel this, cancel that, and cancel it. It's like, it's a kind of thing we saw in the past in Europe and the United States. So therefore, the thing that has to be done, the American people have to know that even these Wall Street guys who think they're the kings of something or other, some substance, don't realize that the situation is such that sometime by Christmas time, perhaps, they will be hanging from the tree because they will not have any assets because these guys will cancel, repudiate their debts. They've done it before, and they will do it again. So once it's clear to even the Wall Street characters, the only street type writer, that this is what the intention is, just look at the debt. Look at the magnitude of this debt. Look at the cost of maintaining this debt alone. Look at the fraudulent character of this debt that has no substance to it. There's nothing you can go to get a resolution of this obligation. They simply are going to have to cancel it. This goes together with the Queen's policy of reducing the population of the planet from 7 billion people to 1 or less. That is her stated policy. That is what they are doing. So the intention is, okay, if we're going to reduce the population of the planet to less than 1 billion people, rather than the 7 billion that's been recently there, then what are you going to do under those circumstances? So the best thing we can do is get rid of Wall Street. And the way to do it is say, gentlemen, you owe us some money. You owe the nation some money. You have promises to pay. You never pay. You just reinvest and expand the debt. You keep the gambling game going. It's the board game of gambling. This is boardwalk. And the logic now is, the problem is most people don't understand how this system works. Therefore, even people on Wall Street don't know how this thing works. They are not reading the signs that we're on the verge of where Wall Street itself will cancel most of its debts. So that's where the fun begins. And that has to be made clear to the American people, and especially the Wall Street crowd who think that they're king this or that. They're not. They're about to be cut off and dumped in the street of the rest of them, except for a few privileged people. Like a general repudiation of their debt, their international debt. That's what we're on the verge of. And we can deal with it. Glass-Steagall will enable us to deal with this with great pain for many people in Wall Street, but no increased pain for the citizens of the United States.